Right now, under every single healthy plant in your garden, there's this invisible network. It's more complex than the internet. Seriously, it's a bustling superhighway where nutrients are bought and sold, where warning signals about pests get sent out, and where decisions are made about which of your plants are going to thrive. And here's the kicker. Most of us have been accidentally destroying it for years. Okay, let's get right into it. We're going to pull back the curtain on what scientists are calling the Wood Wide Web and meet the tiny architects behind this absolutely incredible system.
I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? A secret communication network hidden just out of sight, letting plants team up and defend themselves. But what if I told you it's completely 100% real?
That's right. They can, and they do it all the time. The conversation is happening through this vast, impossibly intricate network of fungi that connects pretty much everything growing in your soil, from a huge tree right down to your smallest tomato plant.
So the star of the show here is a specific type called mycorrhizal fungi. Now, we're not talking about the mushrooms you see popping up after it rains. Nope. We're talking about these microscopic fungal threads, they're called hyphae, that form this amazing, mutually beneficial partnership with an unbelievable 90% of all plant species on Earth.
And the scale of this whole thing is it's mind-blowing. In a single teaspoon of healthy living soil, there can be several miles of these fungal threads. Just think about that for a second. Miles of life packed into one little spoonful.
So, okay, we've got miles of this stuff in good soil. But what is it actually doing? Let's break down the superpowers this network brings right into your garden.
At its heart, it's a simple deal, a two-way transaction. It's a beautiful partnership, really. The plant makes sugars through photosynthesis, right? Well, it sends about 20 to 30% of that sugary fuel down to its roots as payment for the fungi. And in return, the fungi act like this massive delivery service, going out and fetching water, phosphorus, and other key nutrients that the plant's own roots could never ever reach by themselves.
And this just shows you how much of a difference it makes. Plant roots, on their own, are actually kind of limited. But this fungal network can extend a plant's reach by 700 times, maybe even more. A study in the New Phytologist journal found that plants plugged into this network can get up to 80% more phosphorus. That's not just a little boost. That is a total game changer.
But it's not just about delivering food. Some really groundbreaking research, started way back in 1997 by Dr. Suzanne Simard, showed that trees in a forest were actually cooperating, not just competing. And now we know that plants send out warning signals about pests through the network, telling their neighbors to power up their defenses. We're even starting to understand how these central mother trees, the biggest, most connected ones, act as hubs, nurturing the little seedlings around them by sending them extra food through this exact same web. But wait, it gets even better. This network doesn't just feed and connect your plants. It literally builds healthy, resilient soil. It creates the very structure itself. You see, the fungi produce this sticky, kind of miraculous protein called glomalin. It was discovered by USDA scientist Dr. Sarah Wright, and it's basically the superglue of the soil. It binds all the tiny particles of sand, silt, and clay together, creating those beautiful, crumbly little clumps you see in perfect garden soil. And that structure creates all these crucial little pockets and pathways for air and water. And what's really amazing is that glomalin is a carbon-storing machine. It's incredibly stable. It can last for decades in the soil. Research shows it can make up to 27% of all the carbon stored in some soils. That makes this fungal network a critical partner in building healthy, carbon-rich Earth. So if this network is so incredibly important for nutrients, for communication, for soil structure, then why isn't it thriving in every single garden? Well, the hard truth is that a lot of our common gardening practices basically amount to unintentional sabotage. Yeah, we've been systematically destroying it piece by piece without even knowing. Things like tilling, dumping on synthetic fertilizers, using fungicides and pesticides, and even just leaving the soil bare between seasons. All of it tears up this delicate web. Let's talk about the biggest offender, tilling. Every single time a rototiller or even just a shovel turns over that soil, it is physically shredding those miles and miles of fungal hyphae. Research has shown that just one tilling event can wipe out 50 to 70% of the mycorrhizal network, and it can take years for it to recover. And what about synthetic fertilizers? Well, think about it. When we blast our plants with a shot of easy-to-get nitrogen, they get lazy. Why would a plant bother spending 30% of its hard-earned sugar to trade with fungi when it's getting a free meal? So it stops the trade. The fungi starve, and the whole beautiful partnership just collapses.
Now, I know that sounds pretty bleak, but here is the fantastic news. Fungi are incredibly resilient. If we just stop the destruction and start working with nature instead of against it, we can rebuild this vital network, and often it happens way faster than you'd think.
So here's your action plan. It's actually pretty simple. First, go no-till, or at least disturb the soil as little as possible. Second, feed the fungi what they love, woody stuff like wood chip mulch and compost. Third, always keep living roots in the soil by using cover crops. Remember, bare soil is starving soil. And finally, ditch the synthetic stuff for organic options that release nutrients slowly and feed the whole system. And the impact of these simple changes is just enormous. For example, research from Washington State University shows that just by applying wood chip mulch, you can boost mycorrhizal fungal colonization by 200 to 300%. That is a massive return for such a simple action. So, the key here is that each of these tools has a really specific, powerful job. No-till protects the web that's already there. Wood chips and cover crops provide the food. And hey, if your soil is really in bad shape, you can even use something called mycorrhizal inoculants to reintroduce these fungi and really speed up the recovery process. This really changes the whole way you think about gardening, doesn't it? You start to realize you're not just trying to grow a tomato plant or a patch of zucchini. You are the caretaker of an entire underground ecosystem, a thriving city that all works together. So here's the big takeaway, the most important thing to remember. We've been asking the wrong question. It's not what do I need to feed my plant, it's who do I need to feed in my soil. The whole secret to a resilient, self-sufficient garden is to stop acting like a doctor, just giving a patient a pill, and start acting like a chef for a thriving underground world. You feed the soil, and the soil will take care of everything else. I promise. So the next time you step out into your garden, I want you to look past the leaves and the flowers for a minute, and just ask yourself, what's really happening in my soil? Is it a silent, dependent world just waiting for its next chemical fix? Or is it a living, intelligent network, a bustling superhighway of cooperation? The answer isn't just buried in the soil, it's in your hands.